Hello, y'all. Good morning or good afternoon or whatever time it is when you tap into this reading. We are going to zoom out and do what you should do in this situation. And this is going to be about a connection or a situation with another person. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but of course, that's probably what's mostly going to exist in this space. So we will have like person A and person B, and then I'll get you a read on what you should do, you tapping into this, should do in this situation. So do make sure in this particular reading that you're not necessarily thinking about somebody else, but you're thinking about yourself in this equation. So don't tap into the reading thinking about them. Think about, okay, me. This is a me reading. What should I be doing in this situation? So this is a reading about you, about what your actions and patterns should be in this situation for the best possible outcome for you and for the person that you are interacting with. So we have group 1, group 2, and group 3, and I don't think I have any announcements, so I'm just going to dive right into this reading. I'll take these out. Group 1, the offering. Well, I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory on what you need to do in this situation, pile 1. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it because there's something here. Whenever I see the moon, I always feel that that's something unseen. I also see this as I saw the raccoon on the bottom of this deck. Now the raccoon is someone who's like moving from the dark, and I shuffled, and then I had the thought process of seeing this as there's someone in this situation that needs to reach out from the dark into the light. And since you are the one tapping into this reading, and I expressed in the beginning that we are going to tap into this reading actually thinking about self and what we need to be doing in this situation. This reading is inviting you to kind of move out of the dark towards the light. It seems like there's something being illuminated here, and it's as though you're in the dark. Even still, it could be too that there's someone who has been reaching their hand out to you and you just haven't been seeing it. So it's kind of as though you're in the dark right now and are expected to reach your hand out in this situation. But let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's do for group 1, person A. Let's just do 1 card for these. I don't want to do a huge energy read in this space. Any energy for person A? Person A. You have the crocodile. And person B, please. Who's person B in this situation? The beaver. I actually said I was only going to do 1 card, but I feel like these are sort of, I feel as though these are the energies in the situation in which you see one another in. So let me get 1 more card for the crocodile and 1 more card for the beaver. Clarify the crocodile, please, or another energy for the crocodile, please. Because these are very, I don't know, these aren't just like innate, internal, anything. Come on. Oh, wait, this guy wanted to come out. You have the elk here, and then clarify the beaver in this situation. Oh my word. There's that raccoon. Interesting. I'm going to actually pull out the raccoon for that. Because I think that might be a little bit fitting for this here. And then let's get 1 connecting energy beyond the offering for you. For group 1, what is a connecting energy in this situation? I've decided that from now on we're just cutting the deck for this one because, man, this thing is just massive. The mystic. Okay. So this could be a deeply transformative connection. Within this could have been a lot of individual growth that has occurred here in this space. You both may be going through sort of a transitionary or a transcension as a result of this connection. This would be looking back at past behaviors and really kind of feeling a sense of guilt in how we operated. This is a connection which, if you maybe had innately operated in the way that you would have normally, I guess, in other connections, this would be the connection in which those patterns of behavior didn't work here, and then it opened the door, excuse me, for you to look within self and to look at self more authentically and go, oh boy, I have made some mistakes here. Okay, so on one side you have person A. Person A would come off as somewhat predatorial, or protective, or they would be the kind that if you stepped a certain way, like they would observe you and sort of analyze you. And then if you stepped a certain way with this energy, they'd clench their jaws on you. But I feel like this is a defense with this person. Okay. And then before we get into the more innate qualities, going into the beaver person, the defense kind of for this person is to be kind of a workaholic in a sense, but also just to be a busybody in some way, to be the type of person that distracts themselves to an alarming degree, to where now they're building a dam in the middle of a forest, you know. And this is somebody who, whenever they feel like whenever there's a bigger emotion that needs to be attacked, they kind of go straight into the 3D and begin sort of just working. Or they may be a acts of service type person where they feel perhaps needed in spaces where they are physically needed. They may give themselves to others quite a bit, and also it's very exhausting in this space and in this energy. So this is somebody who overworks themselves and then doesn't really give themselves much of a break. Honestly, it's like they're always kind of building that dam, and I think that this actually ends up creating some sort of well, it's just burnout, for one, will exist in this space. But the other thing that exists in this space is that it's like they'll run themselves to, how do I want to say this? They run themselves ragged, essentially, and then will get into a space of burnout, to where then they have no choice but to kind of rest, where the body just rests for them. And in this space, there's a whole lot of overwhelm. This is a very like often stimulated person. And so they're sort of operating in a sense that they maybe need to take a little bit more time to self. They could be constantly sort of in the energies of other people, or are constantly kind of giving into others, or being sort of a workaholic in some sense, or even if they are, even in their downtime, could be just spending their quote unquote downtime with other people. They're always kind of surrounded. Okay, whereas the crocodile is much more of a lone ranger. This energy can operate on its own pretty consistently. And so the only time I feel like the elk or the crocodile here has a whole lot of passion. Okay, just moving back over here, because we're going to get into the elk now, and then we'll go into the raccoon. The elk energy has a whole lot of passion, and I think this is why it comes through in the crocodile form as well, because this is the type of energy that if you were to step sideways with this energy, they would bite back. or they did, you know, maybe that's something that they did in this situation, and that could have been something that they actually learned and grew from within this connection. Same here with the beaver, you know, being sort of always distracted and never available could have also been something that sort of, and more importantly with the beaver, I think that the beaver is something that they would really need to understand is that, what is that saying? It's like we work to live, we don't live to work, right? And that's something that maybe has come up in this space. But so these could have been sort of the traits that kind of presented in this space, where these were more sort of defense mechanisms than they necessarily were innate qualities. Now, moving with the elk. The elk is somebody who is very passionate, very driven, very ambitious, and almost willing to dig into the dark. There, you know, the light is sort of illuminated here in the moon, okay? And then the raccoon over here is in the dark, right? And arguably in the dark about a lot of how the crocodile feels. And so this energy is kind of like, it will go after what it wants. It's not going to take a no for an answer. This is a very fiery, passionate energy over here. And so when it kind of moves that way, and then, you know, maybe had a moment in this situation where something kind of just went sideways and this elk was really trying, and then the elk kind of got defensive. Now over here with the raccoon is sort of operating in the dark. This is an energy that while it's like they distract themselves sort of from having to dissect the deeper feelings. And so they will even put themselves into a space of overworking, maybe not even consciously, but sort of as a default to not having to deal with the deeper emotions. And so the raccoon is sort of operating in the dark a bit and really kind of lives in that space. This could be somebody even who's very active at night or has a very active nightlife, or does, you know, a lot of their you know, I guess creating, because the raccoon is a very creative soul. When it comes down to it, they could be doing this sort of at night. They could be very nocturnal in that sense. The raccoon has sort of an eclectic or artistic inner world, okay, that is within the raccoon that is wanting to be emanated out. Now, another card I did see pop up for this was the cheetah, and I didn't bring it out because I just wanted to stay in two spaces, but the cheetah talks about using that light within to emanate into the world around them. So something that I think in this space, I would actually say that it is the raccoon and the beaver who is needing to provide the offering to the elk. And because it seems as though the elk would have actually been really quite comfortable sort of offering what they could to the beaver or to the raccoon, as the elk is sort of, you know, shining light on the dark, right? And the raccoon is in the dark. So the elk would have already been in a space that was like, here you go, like, here I am, you know. I think that, you know, in some ways this was sort of the other way around for a while, okay? And since this hand is in the dark and it's coming from this side, and this side is a little bit more colorful over here, there's a lot more color on this side actually, it seems as though the raccoon in this space is the one needing to do the offering. So if you are tapping into this reading, you are most likely going to be the raccoon, or this is a flipped situation and this is what your person needs to be doing. So I'm going to be speaking to the raccoon and the beaver in this reading, because I feel that this is the person who needs to take action in this read. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into your reading. Here, I'm going to stick your offering card over to the side here. Put these cards back for the next group, and I think that we will bust out let's actually have some truth come out in this space. So I think we're going to do the Raven's Prophecy. It's a little bit deeper of a deck, but it's a very honest deck. So we are going to bust out this bad boy. This is Raven's Prophecy. Let's see here. I am so weird about shuffling decks because I don't like the cards to be upside down. So, okay, let's do it this way. Whoa, hello. The Magician and the King of Cups. I was actually feeling the King of Cups. Interesting. So what the raccoon needs to do in this situation, what you need to do, okay, well, let's get out the rest of your cards first, okay, group one, and kind of dissect what's going on here. I guess this wanted to come out. What else do we have here? There's that, all these kind of hands reaching out. You see that that is sort of themed. This is synchronicities, y'all. Synchronicities. Bottom of the deck, you have the Eight of Wands. So the energy in this space is that you need to put a little oomph in your step here. Okay. The Magician card, it is talking about the ability to sort of manifest something that you want to see come to fruition. Now, in this space, it feels as though the raccoon does want to reach out to the elk, okay? That seems to be, I guess, the dilemma here. And the raccoon is sort of operating in a space where this would be the type of person that maybe holds a lot in. And arguably, here's the thing, is if the crocodile had a defense that came in kind of like a little bit harsh, even if they have kind of transformed from that, because there's that connecting energy, right, of the mystic and that transcension, learning from our mistakes in this situation, which I would say that if person B, the raccoon, is learning from their mistakes, then person A has probably also learned from their mistakes. So it's kind of a two-way street. These two are working together in some ways, a very spiritual connection. So what could be happening for the raccoon is fear, almost. Like if I reach out to the elk, what if the crocodile comes out and bites my head off? Which is a fair assessment for the raccoon. You know, the raccoon, first of all, we need to understand that positive reinforcement is so stupidly effective. I've been seeing stuff on this and I've been implementing this into my life and making sure that I am removing sort of hypercriticism when I feel backed into a corner. And the outcome is so much more positive when you shift the perspective into positive reinforcement and begin rewarding good behavior instead of sort of fine-tooth combing anything that feels off. And that's really difficult to do anyway. And so just having mentioned that, you know, the crocodile could be in that space of really, you know, fine-tuning their sort of defenses to kind of, you know, go back into the water a little bit and not so quickly kind of come in and clench their jaws on the raccoon. And so, but the raccoon still is in the space of, okay, kind of being, well, reflecting a bit and sort of in a way that is sort of reflecting on the past and perhaps also feeling guilty for what they have done and their actions. And really, I don't think here's the thing, is the energy in this space doesn't feel as bad as I think either of these people are sort of allowing it to sort of manifest in their head. You two are, as this is a spiritual connection, as there is that sort of transcension that exists between the two of you, you are a powerful connection. This is a deeper connection than I think that maybe has been presented in this space, and your ability to manifest in this space is whoosh, it's big. So we can manifest all kinds of realities, and we can even have that validated in the outside world depending on our internal conflicts. So in this space, it's almost as though we need to be tweaking how we see things. The raccoon right now is in this space of sort of dwelling, but dwelling in a way that's like, if I do this, then what if this happens? And I think that the raccoon needs to have so much more trust in itself than it does. The raccoon needs to really understand that when we're connected with somebody in a certain way, there is purpose there. The elk, being that the elk was in an energy of I want what I want, okay, and really being sort of tenacious in that, you know, having that fiery energy. And if the elk was already in a space of offering to the raccoon, then the elk in its own way, despite having the crocodile undertone, was reaching out to the raccoon like, hey, I like you. And the raccoon just kind of moved into the dark and then started, you know, being the little busybody a bit. So it seems as though the crocodile has probably already been in a space of offering this emotion to the beaver. And the beaver person now is sort of at a crossroads, okay? They're in this space of understanding, okay, like the work that needs kind of assessed in this space is, I need to do some work in this space, because it's quite possible that the crocodile or the elk has already kind of done what they can do in this space. And what is required sort of the raccoon person in this space, and required of you, because I'm talking to you in this space as you are the raccoon, but flip it if it needs to, is to provide some sort of reassurance, is kind of the thing that is missing in this equation from the raccoon. Because we're in this, and this is kind of this is like a reset kind of in this connection here, because you have the Ace of Swords here. So this is kind of moving out of this energy here. It's the raccoon understands what they need to do. I think that's kind of, it's just that fear there, right? So the raccoon has been in this space of sort of, okay, comprehending what I need to do in this space, trying to manifest what needs to be done, and has come to the conclusion, okay, what I need to do in this situation is I need to provide emotion here. I need to provide some sort of reciprocity in a way, because if this hand was already being sort of, you know, if the elk was consistently the one peeking into the dark, if the elk was consistently holding its hand out to the raccoon, and the raccoon just went further and further and further into the dark, away from this light that, you know, was emanating from the elk has already been in the space of offering. And so now we're at a space where there's imbalance. You know, the justice is kind of in the reverse in this space. And so what the raccoon is being advised to do in this situation is to reach their hand out and provide some emotion in return. And this would be after a space of, you know, quite a bit of reflecting. And it needs to come in. And I do also have the Seven of the Swords on the bottom of the deck. So this would be some internal conflict, as well as the Hierophant on the bottom of the deck as well. So this energy here is kind of like, the raccoon is kind of building momentum in some way, like having faith in this, or there's just faith existing in the in-between within this situation. Someone walked away, or both of you walked away. Okay, both of you had moved away from this connection, discontinued communicating, something kind of happened. Sometimes that happens when feelings come up, okay? You also have the Six of Wands down here. So this is sort of indicating that you feel as though this is somebody who stands out to you. This is somebody who is important to you. And since it's a balanced card, and the Six of Wands is kind of this, you know, when we have even numbers. There's a lot of equality in that space. This is something that is sort of mutually experienced, but it's also completely in the dark. You know, it's like we don't know that this is mutually experienced here. We're sort of, and also even it was interesting that with the fingers crossed thing, I don't actually see this as fingers crossed behind the back. I see this as somebody crossing their fingers that they hope that they're right about this and that this isn't all in their head. And so the only way here that the raccoon who is existing right now in this hermit energy, Virgo energy, is in this sort of space of being in sort of this internalized world, is sort of in the dark and sort of building the light within, and that's what's anticipated to kind of come out. They're putting a lot of faith in this, right? And what the raccoon is being advised to do in this move is to you know, I mean, in some way they need to build some, in some way, no, what they need to do is build some courage in this space and just go for it and then see what happens. Because the energy here really is that isn't there's not any animosity in this space. It's not, there's a lot of compassion here. There's a lot of care here, as in these two care immensely for one another, but don't know how to operate caring for one another. And I just want to speak candidly a moment, just having felt this kind of energy before. It is kind of jarring when you don't know why you feel connected to someone and why you care about them and why everything they do is like, you don't get mad at them and it's like it's new, you know. Even if you kind of stepped a certain way, it was just out of frustration more than it was out of like wanting to harm somebody. And then if you did harm them, feeling bad, you know, that's an emotion that I don't think exists in all connections. And so then being in that space of going, oh, whoa, like now I have to rethink my own thought patterns and all these things that this is how I operated in every other connection. And then also there comes into this awareness, this sort of realization in these connections that what we used to do, the reason that those relationships didn't work out was because this is how we operated and it didn't work. And we know it didn't work. And so now we're faced in this new space and we begin sort of operating in the same trajectory, but we've learned things from our past now. And now we're in this space of being in a lot of self-reflection and really honestly kind of not trusting self, or not trusting what needs to be done, even though we have an awareness of we know what needs to be done. We just kind of hold ourselves back from doing what needs to be done. And so in this situation, it's just that one person has been reaching their hand out more to the other, and now it's that person's turn to sort of reach their hand out. And there's a whole lot of compassion in this space. So the raccoon being in this energy, being a little bit, it's not super fearful, honestly. It's not like they're terrified of doing this. It's just that they're trying to sort of weigh the outcomes a lot more. They are in a lot of internal conflict, but it isn't so, the energy here with the Hermit card is not just like, it's not overwhelming. So it's sort of, it's just, I feel like what exists in this connection really is an absence of trusting self. An absence of being in a space that even understands how someone else may view us, or being able to see ourselves through the lens of somebody else. We can get very up in our heads. Case in point, I just very recently found out something that I guess I didn't even know or understand about myself, okay, and how others see me. And one of those things was that I found out that I was like considered attractive, okay, and it's not that I didn't know that, but it's like the way it was presented to me in the conversation, which I can't get into too many details because I promised I wouldn't like talk about it, but because it's when your child tells you not to tell, you know, somebody something about like how other people see you from, you just don't. Okay. So anyway, but I recently found that out, and I was like, what? I was so dumbfounded by that, because I had been in this space of thinking that there was something wrong with me. And then I said, sort of just like, I saw myself a lot differently. And so that's something that exists in this space a little bit, is like, we can kind of, you know, yesterday, I think it was, I talked about in a reading where we can create these sort of alternate scenarios in our mind, right? And our mind will seek that in the environment around us. So if we're feeling sort of self-doubt or any of those sort of emotions, we can sort of seek that in situations. And we can also create a whole idea of another person or their thoughts or their beliefs towards us by how we feel about ourselves. And that could be the polar opposite of how those people really feel about you. And so it's really important too to understand that some of this that's existing in this connection is it could be self-doubt, or could be sort of it's not necessarily lies we tell ourselves, but it is kind of that, because in our brains we think it's truth. So it's not necessarily a lie, but it is sort of falsehoods we kind of tell ourselves to keep ourselves protected. And so it's, you know, just as though being in a space of feeling like you're not good enough, and then convincing yourself of that, and then staying, you know, sort of safe in your you know, hermit cave here, where there you don't have to put yourself out there and nobody has to come in, and then you're just protected. It's kind of being in like a shell a little bit, and having this sort of protective barrier, a wall, if you will. And that can work on both sides, really. But this is really being in a space of trust, of trusting self, and more importantly too, it's also being in a space of you don't know unless you try. And so it's kind of one of those, it's a double-edged sword, because you either try and fail, and then you learn something and move forward, or you don't try and you regret it, and then you learn something and wish you could go back, you know, kind of thing, or then have to move forward kind of in a new way. And neither one of those are fun experiences, but I would argue personally that it's easier to have tried and to have failed than to have not tried at all. I don't know who said that quote, but somebody did, and it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that is kind of what needs to be done in this situation. Let's see how the crocodile feels about you. That way, then you can kind of, you know, we can kind of ease your mind a little bit. Okay, in this space, how does the crocodile see the raccoon? How does the crocodile see the raccoon? How does the crocodile see the raccoon? Continue on. Okay, they do see you as not communicating. Clarify the Five of Swords. Clarify the Five of Swords, please. Thank you. Okay, so it's kind of like they see the way that the crocodile views the raccoon in this moment is that I feel like there is a situation, or there was something that kind of happened that just broke down this connection in an instant, okay? And then saw the raccoon going into like, we're not talking, and providing no information. And I think um, the way then that they kind of viewed this was being in a space of having to sort of there could be conflict then if there was any kind of communication brought, or they were trying to then build down the foundations, or they saw the raccoon as being sort of busy building down the foundations. They do see that the raccoon is sort of quiet. Okay, so there's no communication going on here. I mean, I would say this is probably a no contact situation, or very little contact that exists in this space. So it's like they see all this, but then they also see the potential of having a new beginning. They also see the potential of having, the world is more than just a new beginning. It's also a completion of a cycle. So on one element, there could have been something that went down with this tower. I just want to say really quick, I also have the Hermit coming out, and so they do kind of see the raccoon in some Hermit energy. Anyway, sorry. With this being sort of a completion of a cycle, just with the conversation existing in this space, the way in which the crocodile can view the situation now is kind of having learned something from this, and possibly already been in a space of starting over within self and seeing that potential in this situation. Now, I will say that I do think that the crocodile is the one who is, well, I guess it could be either way. You could both be seeing this as a potential connection, and that's kind of the issue. There's been some things that have gone down. We're kind of in this space of wanting to balance things back out, really wanting to be in a space of a new beginning, or communicating more effectively in this space. And I think that this is going to, I mean, honestly, I feel as though what's really going to need to be what's going to need to happen is that the crocodile person is also going to have to be a lot more, defensive too. So, and that's something that the crocodile then would need to work on. But in this space with the raccoon person being in the Hierophant space, and I would say that this is sort of something maybe that the crocodile has kind of learned. But so how they're viewing you is just, really not giving it to them in any way. What else do we have? King of Cups, the Knight of Cups. I feel like this is more so the expectation, or what this this kind of what the crocodile sort of would like to see, and also they are in this energy too. They're in temperance. They're having patience in this moment. So I think that what they're kind of, what they're wanting in this space is just some sort of forward movement, and really kind of just waiting it out in a sense, or just being in temperance is not always just straight patience. It's also being in a space of sort of working on self, because and balancing self too. This card here says part man, part woman, all angel, 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out on land. And that's really telling in this space with the crocodile person, is the crocodile person is sort of in this moment more so focused on getting themselves right in order to kind of be in a space with a new beginning and a new chapter. And whether or not that involves this Hermit energy or not, it's more so that it's needing that sort of within self. But I do see that from the crocodile's perspective, or from the elk's perspective in this case, is that there is no communication happening, and that the on the raccoon's end, the raccoon is kind of in a space of needing to communicate and not doing it. And so that's kind of the space that they're existing in. And this tower moment even could have been sort of catapulted by the elk in some way. Had kind of, been, shifted things up by, they have fiery energy. They have a lot more tenacity to chase that sort of light. And if they came in with a fiery, or if they clenched their jaws down in this space, and even kind of, moved a certain way that was like, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this sort of absence of communication. And this is more than just absence of communication too. This is absence of authentic communication at that. This is an absence of truth, existing in this space. And I think that the elk was like, I just want to know the truth. And so, if you can provide me that would be really great. And so it was kind of like, there, and then that just really put it, it sort of just even illuminated the dark in some way, and then that the raccoon went even further into the cave. Okay, and so now the raccoon is in a space right now of having to kind of work their way out of that and come out of the cave, and now kind of be the one where the script is flipped a little bit, and the raccoon is now doing a little bit of, being a little bit more in the elk energy, and the elk is being a little bit more, reserved. So that is what's going on in this situation, what needs to happen, and how your person views you. If this resonated with you, group one, please like and subscribe to my channel. Do leave me a comment down below. Hitting the like button is so beneficial for the channel. So if you do nothing else here, if you can do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Group one, enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, and P.S. I do offer private readings as well. You can reach out at the Temporal Taurus at outlook.com. Thank you. Hello, group two. I had to put this out because I actually need a drink of my water, but really quick. I had to put this out because feeling good started coming into my head, like birds flying high, how I feel. I was like, oh yeah, let's get down. Sun in the sky, how I feel. It's a new dawn. I feel like you're on the break. The break? Why did I say break? The brink of really, cracking open the shell and letting your sort of the light within you illuminate. Okay, so what we're gonna do, just so that you know that this is your connection, we're going to do person A, person B, and then we'll do a connecting energy, and then we'll figure out in this reading who we are going to be delivering the message to. But this person in this space is sort of, kind of, they're in an energy that is exploring the world. Okay then. You have the fire ant in reverse and the whale for person A. All right, what's person B? Sorry, my I guess my guys are like, shut up and do the reading. Okay. Maybe you aren't great with patience. And we have the frog, and then what is another energy here we have? And the firefly. Okay. And let me do one connecting energy for y'all, just so you can see. I really feel like already the person I'm talking to is probably the whale, okay? We're going to have a whale of a good time. A whale. I'll be darned. Okay, anyway, I'm done. Well, all you'll be fooked. Okay, sorry. We playful. Okay. Connecting energy. We have the healer. Fascinating. We are healing one another. So good. So good. Okay. We're going to do this primary energies here, and then we'll do these sort of energies that exist in this space. The whale is sort of like exploring the ocean and taking up space in it too at that. You know, it's like the whale is a big creature with a big energy, and it just is like it just explores the ocean in its vastness as a vast creature. So this is somebody that is sort of, you know, following anything that sort of feels good and fluid. It's very colorful. It's kind of coming out of the dark. This is, you know, I guess like basking in the sun kind of thing is a vibe that comes up with the whale. And the whale it has a whole lot of depth of emotion and kind of awareness sitting within itself, especially within its like underbelly, right? It's kind of like beneath there, right? The frog person over here is really weathering a storm, but kind of in a space of growing. And you know, this is, I mean, arguably water is sort of the environment that the frog can grow in. So even if there is a storm around the frog, it's better than there being kind of no storm at all. You know, it's than being dry and sort of having nothing being illuminated onto it. So it's almost as though the frog is in just constant download, right? The frog is in a space of just consistently receiving downloads and information, and it's like it's like in the form of water, and likely, you know, may have something to do over here with the whale and the way they're operating, and this being kind of a spiritual connection in some way, especially with this healing energy existing between them. So this is kind of this person's emotions and them kind of being fluid in their emotions, and arguably all emotions, and we'll get into that in a second. It's kind of flowing over then onto the frog, and the frog now is in this space of sort of having everything kind of coming down upon them in a learning space, you know, learning a whole lot within this connection. And this is kind of taking them to come out of the dark. Now, the whale, I do believe the whale maybe once was actually in this energy, the fire ant energy. If you step on a fire ant's home, so if you harm a fire ant, they'll attack. Okay, and so that is an energy that might have existed in this whale. Now they're kind of moving out of that, moving away from that, and going, I don't have to operate this way when I am in a space of, this could have been, you know, kind of their defense, being in this little shell here, right? In the fire ant space, as if you come at me, I'll attack you kind of energy. But even, you know, maybe even, the thing is these things are sort of, you ever stepped near a fire ant? Home, like just get near it and it thinks that you're gonna hurt it, and they like whoosh, they swarm and attack. And that's kind of the energy that this that the whale has come out of in this space, probably what has been healed within this space, right? Coming out of being in a space of you know, not attacking what it feels might be an imminent threat, even if it's not. So this energy at one point could have been just, you know, said things they didn't mean, or it was just like, you know, a little bit pushy, or a little bit on the defense, okay? And that could have really, you know, that this frog operating in a little bit more sensitivity over here and kind of being a little bit more in the dark, this could have pushed the frog even further in the dark and been like, I don't trust the whale. I do not trust that whale. Because if I even look at the whale wrong, the whale might bite my head off. And now the whale is kind of like, oh, I see, I see here. Because they have kind of moved out of this fire ant energy, right? Okay. Between the two of you, this is a very healing connection. This is a connection that has a lot of potential to expand and grow, and it is very transformative. Now, some of these things, honestly, do kind of exist in the group one space as well. So in the group one space, I was actually talking to the person in the dark, and then in this person, I'm actually talking to the person who's kind of in more of the lighter energy. Okay, so if that hits with you or resonates, you might want to check out that reading as well. But let's go ahead and get into the Starborn and what you need to do in this situation. And we are going to pull out the Raven's Prophecy here because this is like a truth deck. I do want to kind of shuffle. Okay. I have to like know how to shuffle to keep my cards all in one order because I'm so picky about all my cards being upright. I want to give you a fair chance, you know, before you go tapping into a reading. So that's kind of my thought process here. Okay. All right. Group 2, what do you need to do? Okay. All of these flew out. I was like, oh, we have a message for you, baby. Queen of Coins there. Ace of Cups. 10 of Swords. All right, hold on. And then we have the Queen of Swords. Hold up, let me just get all your cards out here. Collective 2. You have the Queen of Swords, Death, and the 9 of Wands, as well as the Empress here. Okay. You know, what's interesting about this Justice card in this deck is that it's not actually imbalanced. Do you see that? Typically, it would be in balance, which is just interesting because in this deck, the way that it's depicted in the imagery is that it's a little bit off balance. And the irony, I guess, honestly, is that the lighter side is heavier than this side. You know, so here's the cup over here of emotion. This is sort of materialism, right? And then the cup is sort of, it's sort of depicting monetary things in some way, sort of physical things, right? And over here there's the feather and these roots growing. Okay, so this is more so of a light, okay, lighter things or things that grow or things that take flight, even having a heavier weight within them. Okay, and so, and then you have this Page of Cups here, which is a nest. And it's as though, I feel like this is sort of a timeline here a little bit. It's like you are in what you kind of have been in this space, okay? And I think you've been in a bit of imbalance where it's as though you have kind of been in a space of offering, you know, giving offerings. This is kind of like planting little nuggets, you know, with the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups isn't, we know, if you've been here for a second, you know that I'm not like, I like the Page of Cups. Don't get me wrong. I don't dislike the Page of Cups. Okay. But the Page of Cups is not like, it's trying to offer emotion, but it's only providing a fish, you know, it doesn't really know what it's doing. And so I think that, what you've done in this space is kind of offered what you could or what you thought was, you know, an offering, I guess, of some sort, but it comes in actually very direct and stern, and kind of the Queen of Wands is very honest, very truthful, and very, you know, just, I said what I said. And that's the energy that you've had. And actually, because we're in a space of it being that this is what you're intended to do, it's almost as though you are intended to stay there. I said what I said. And because already there's been an imbalance in the situation. You have been in this space of sort of planting seeds in the way that in the way that you can. And this could be very one-sided. If you are on this side and trying to put sort of seeds and planting things and making them grow and trying to get this connection to take flight, then you are already the one who has put more weight into this connection than the other person, than the frog. The frog has kind of been a relatively avoidant of that, okay? And so now it's kind of where you're at is the new beginning that you need to experience here, okay? Is like bringing in stability here, getting out of sort of this putting all the burden on self and laying down these sort of nuggets for somebody else to pick up and offer to you. And you're in this sort of queen of intended to be in a queen of coins energy, which is the ultimate kind of abundance. But in order to obtain that, we have to have kind of abundance within self. So this isn't necessarily you giving any more here. This is you then going into giving self. This is the new beginning, really, is like, okay, you have said what you've said. You've attempted to have this situation take flight. You've planted seeds. You've kind of done your part here. You've put the little eggs in the basket, and also I this is kind of a metaphor too. It's like you put all of your eggs in this basket as well on top of that. And so now you're in this space of like, there needs to be some sort of finalization that we got to get out of this space where we're consistently reaching out and consistently dropping these eggs and consistently putting another egg in this basket and consistently, you're gonna get to the point where you're weighing down your side and then there's not balance here. This is a situation where there's not equal give and take. There isn't reciprocity that exists in this space. There isn't reassurance that exists in this space. And so you've been operating sort of just, okay, well, here's another egg for the basket. Here's another seed planted. How many times do I have to tell you? It's like very like, here you go, like dropping little, and it is like a bird dropping. So this isn't fiery. This isn't, like I said what I said. No, this is very like, here you go. It's like dropping little nuggets, and going, here, this is how I feel. And, dropping it in the frog's basket, right? Like, here's how I feel, and as you're operating in the whale, you kind of then, go move on. And it's like, follow the fluidity of your emotions then. And I feel like you kind of are already in this space of kind of balancing this out or building stability, or at the very least, this is what you're intended to do here. Because this situation has given you it's giving you the impression that you are stabbing your own self in the back, not that somebody else is stabbing you in the back. With this like Nine of Wands and the Ten of Swords energy, this is sort of being in a space of internal conflict and internal burden as a result of sort of our own passions and our own fire that we've kind of emanated in a situation. And then this realization that we have kind of put ourselves in a situation where we are stabbing our own self in the back. Man, I don't know if y'all can hear it. My youngest son is on his headset, and I asked this child to not be so loud when I was recording, and I feel like I'm shouting over him right now so that I can kind of drown out him in the background. He is having a heyday on his Xbox. Yikes. Okay. Anyway. And here's the thing too, is that I feel like there's been sort of a new awareness that you've moved into, that what you're kind of intended to jump into is actually owning the Empress energy and really understanding that, what on earth is that? Why are my children making so much noise? Okay, so moving into a situation, or moving into, it's like what you're intended to kind of jump into this, as it's like the Ace of Cups, it's in the water here. It's like, and the whale is in the water as well. It's like you are to submerge yourself in the idea that you are the Empress and then move forward from there. it's almost inviting you to stop dropping eggs in this person's basket. If you, you know, that's kind of what it's coming through here as, um, my goodness. Hang on one second, because I don't like to record this, and everybody in this house knows that. Hey, you need to be quiet. What is going on out here? Shh. I'm trying to record, and it's really noisy out here. Can you take care of that, please? It's fine. Okay, sorry. Collective 2. Oh my gosh, I can't, like, editing is really hard to do right now for me, and it takes forever, and it takes so much space, so I don't like to do it, and I always tell the kids first, and I do it so early. Like, I did it before anybody was up. I started this, and now everybody is up, and everybody's noisy. Okay, anyway. So you are in this space of like having to immerse yourself again in this energy of, okay, I have done what I can do, and that's just kind of it. I can't put any more eggs in this basket. Obviously, if you're here and you're listening to a reading, you want to see this balanced out, but I think it's coming into sort of this understanding that there's not anything else that you can do in this space to balance this out, because you have already done enough. And the more that you reach out, the less, the less you kind of move yourself out of this Empress energy, honestly. It's like then you lose respect from that person and respect for self. And we don't want that. We don't want to be in a space in which we're losing respect for self. You have kind of done what you can do, and there's an imbalance at that. And I think it's like this energy here, this Queen of Swords energy of having to kind of put your foot down on what you are willing to provide to those who are not providing anything to you in return is sort of the new way of being. And also another thing with death too is like an ending too, is like ending this and beginning this, because when you're in this, it makes you feel this, okay? Makes you feel that Ten of Swords energy where it's like, the traditional tarot is the man laying on the ground with 10 swords in his back, and before that it's internal conflict. So it's almost as though now it's sort of the aftermath of having honestly stabbed one's own self in the back. So I mean, not always depicted that way, but when we're discussing internal conflict, then it definitely is. And so you are actually being invited to own your power, to sit in your power, and to move forward with an understanding that you are in the Empress energy, especially with the Starborn card. It's like you are intended to break out of your shell instead of closing yourself off, instead of putting all your eggs in one basket. Actually, you are intended to step outside of that. Okay, let's see how this person feels about you, how the frog person feels about you, and then we'll close out this reading. How does the frog person feel about the whale? How does the frog person feel about the whale? Sorry, I saw an upside down card and we can't have that. All right, how do they feel? Tell me things. How does the frog person feel about this little guy wanted to pop out? Ace of Wands. Well, okay, hold on. Okay. They could want to, they could be physically attracted to you. They definitely see you as you stand out in a crowd. You stand out to them. There is probably, maybe they can't find other energies like you. The Six of Wands is very much that, kind of being the one vibe. They see you as having walked away from this. And they have a lot of passion for you. Physical attraction. Okay, it's like they wanna, you know what. Oh, but they also see you, that's interesting. It's like they kind of see you as, they could see you as somebody who has options, or they see you as having walked away from this and are going towards this energy, or that you are dealing with somebody else. They could see you as sort of manifesting your own life. See that there's things that they don't know. There's things unseen. There are things they don't know about you, or things they don't know what's going on here. They could see you as somebody who's very like, and I also have this energy too. It's like they kind of feel as though you put your foot down here. So maybe you've already done this, or that if they came at you, you would kind of defend yourself. The Knight of Wands here in this deck it's interesting because it's like the woman in this space was, I mean, probably agitated, and then she kind of burned down the village, right? And now they're all searching for her, and she's willing to defend her turf. And so interesting is that I think that the frog person sees you as well, really kind of being in a space too of just focusing on your career or helping others, but also in a space willing to defend their turf. And it's like they see you as kind of having walked away from them. But here's the thing, is that if you're in this reading and you're watching this reading, then have you walked away from them? Have you no, I would say that that's a resounding no, you have not. In fact, I feel like that you would actually be in a space of, or this is how they feel too, but I mean, I asked a question and those are the cards that came out. So it's like they want a new beginning with you, or they want to sort of end a cycle that you guys were in and then start in this new energy and be sort of connected, or this is what you want in this connection with this person, wanting to be in this Four of Wands energy. But it's kind of as though, you know, the Starborn person is really in the space of going, I've kind of done what I can do in this space. There's not much else I can do here. I need you to drop an egg in my basket, dear frog, you know, kind of space. So that's really what's going on in this connection. And you are really intended to kind of stay in your power and, you know, understand what it is that you need to feel safe in a connection. And if this person is not providing that to you, we have to move into awareness that we can't, how can I say this? It's like what we want them to do can't be done if we don't give them the space to do it. You know, if we want them to be the one reaching out and then we are the one always reaching out, then they're not going to reach out, you know. And sometimes when you give someone who doesn't reach out an awful lot of space to do it on their own, they don't. And that's also something that we have to build into an awareness too, is like, well, I guess, you know, I've only said like 6 ways to Sunday that I'm interested. And so if they can't hear me, then aren't willing to listen, then there's not really much I can do here, you know? And so, but they're not going to be the one reaching out if we continue to drop eggs in their basket. So it kind of is in this space right now with Collective 2, where it's kind of, you're kind of being invited to look at the frog and give them the space to make it be their turn to do something. So that is the reading for you, Collective 2. I'm sorry for the brief disruption. If this resonated with you, please do like and subscribe to my channel. If you do nothing in this space, if you can just like the video, that helps my channel tremendously. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if this hit with you. Thank you so much for being here, Collective 2. Enjoy the rest of your day. Group 3. You have the shape shifter. It's time for us to go through some change, baby. That's what's intended to happen. Oh, you know what? I was going to get into your reading really quick, and I forgot to do person A, person B, and your connecting energies. Okay, so let's do person A, person B, and you can, and I will determine who I am talking to in this reading based on these energies. So we'll do you and your person, see what energies they come out as, and then the connecting energies as well. Okay, so let's do person A. I did see that stingray on the bottom of the deck. I don't know if that'll pop out here. Person A is in that energy. Person B. The lamb and the buffalo. Now, normally I see the lamb as different than it's coming out here. But I actually think the hyena is... I think I'm talking to this person. We'll just start there. Am I? We'll find out. Okay. Lastly, let's do your connecting energy here. I've decided that we're just going to cut this baby because I do not know how to get cards to come out of this on their own. The wild unknown archetype, man. Love it, but okay, yeah, this is you. We are intended to focus on ourselves in this connection, mutually, actually. Okay, so hyena. This could be somebody who is very sarcastic. See how these energies here are operating in the dark, these energies here are operating in the light. The hyena could be somebody who, you know, is in their upright. Okay, they have a little bit of fiery energy, but they're also, you know, the hyena is very unpredictable in their energy. This is somebody who's very sarcastic, very witty, has like a real, you know, gritty sense of humor. And when it's in the upright, it can be really funny, but in the reverse, it can be very insulting. This can be somebody who has like kind of word daggers. They say things that are really not nice. Okay. And then here's the thing is that they may be operating right now in a space where they're not holding on. They are, so in the upright, the camel would be sort of willing to kind of hold on to a whole lot. And in this space now, they're like not holding on to anything. They're not really doing anything. They're kind of just, the energy over here feels very disconnected and kind of in limbo, honestly. And it feels very empty. I can't really describe it, but it's just like there's this person is kind of over here. Oh, they're not communicating with you because my throat chakra is all like out of whack. But not just that. I mean, the energy in this space is that they are they're like completely avoidant of emotion, very emotionally unavailable. So much so it's like it's almost as though it's so hidden. You know, you have the moon here too. These are like sort of those hidden beneath the surface shadowy things, right? It's the subconscious. It's almost as like the deeper emotions in this person are so buried that there's almost a disconnect in their ability to kind of emanate emotion in particular. So it's very dry. Whereas this person has so much emotion. It's like the imbalance here is like, you think of like yin and yang a little bit, right? This person has all the light and just a little bit of dark. And then this person has all the dark and just a little bit of light. And the lamb is really, 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 really good at seeing light in the darkest of places. The lamb is so sweet in the presenting space. Now, they do have, they do have, you know, I'm a bull, I'm a Taurus, and it reminds me of like the bull will graze until there's a red flag, right? And then you see the red flag, and then the bull comes charging, right? And that is Taurus energy too. It's like, you know, that earthy kind of energy. It doesn't have to be. This could also be Aries energy in some capacity. But that sort of raging kind of only when we see red. When we see red, we see red. We see red, and then it's like we're gonna bring down the storm upon this, okay? And that energy towards an energy like this, who is already so disconnected from emotion, is going to just go, just close way down. And but the reason that it exists, like, you know, the reason that the hyena can kind of elicit this response from the lamb, who really is quite docile in their, you know, normal, you know, when they're at peace, is because the hyena is sort of elicits those responses. This is an antagonist in some way. They agitate and elicit responses, and then they run away, and they're like, see. This is it's like crazy making. And I discussed this the other day in the group 3 space as well. So I think you guys are tapping into this, and this collective here is sort of the same kind of theme. So in this space, I do feel like I am talking here. All of the color is in this space, and we have self. And so if you're tapping into this collective 3, I think you are the lamb in this scenario, and you are dealing with somebody like this. And the intention right now is actually to focus on you and to not focus on this person. I'm going to say in this space that you are really intended in this moment to spend as little time focusing on this person as possible. They're very disconnected here. They're emotionally unavailable. They're not going to move out of this if we're kind of in a space of giving into this any further at this time. This person needs a timeout, and more importantly, the lamb needs a break from this. This energy here is just, how can you, with all of your good energy over here, you have a well-balanced energy at that. It's well-rounded, it's warranted, and you can even be in a space where you might feel guilty for having this in your, you know, beneath the surface. But this energy doesn't feel guilt. It doesn't feel much emotion in general, which is not really that awesome. Not that awesome. Okay. All right. Let's go into the truth. We're going to do the Raven's prophecy for the truth that you need to hear in this space, or not the truth, excuse me, what you need to do here, group 3, in this space. Because this is about you. This is not about that person. So what do you need to do? And I do know that there are some people who have been here for a while that have been hitting into this space recently, and I've been through this too, and I know it's not easy. All right. So just really quick, want to, you know, offer my love and support to you. Connections are really difficult sometimes, especially when we have, you know, so much expectation that we put into that space. Okay, what does group 3 need to do in this moment? Oh, all of these were like, take me out of this deck. Those just flew right out. Like, we're ready. Let's deliver the message, baby. I do have the 3 of Swords on the bottom of the deck, so I know that you're going through it in this space. You are intended to... What is that? I'm like a bird, I wanna fly away. By Nelly Furtado. I don't know where my home is. Hear this guy. 7 of Cups. Okay. What are you intended to do? Take a break, baby. It's almost as though what you're intended to is just to jump right into a new chapter. to see this as a completed cycle and to begin now in the mending phase. This is a lot to take on as a human. This is a lot for one person to endure. This kind of energy and having to deal with that, it can it's just not easy to deal with. But we have to move into where we are no longer giving into situations and scenarios where we just don't feel that reciprocated to us. It's like we want to, we want to be in this space of this Four of Wands energy and, giving in this emotions. But it's like you are sort of in this space of, well, it's interesting here too, because like you have the world, you have this new beginning, and it's doing some reflecting and then moving kind of into this space of laying down the truth here. And I do kind of feel like this is the truth. It's kind of like a conversation with self. But, I mean, there's also a bit of, it's interesting why they have a sword in the Knight of Wands space. I'm not really sure. You see how the Knight of Wands here is a sword? It's really interesting. Now, the Knight of Wands come in with a lot of passion. Okay, comes in with a lot of passion towards, I feel like it's like in this space, okay, it's as though it's like we've been very communicative, we've been very honest, we put in a lot of passion into this space, and now it's like, okay, you had all that going on here and sort of building this within the connection. And what you can do is move that and to look at and to zoom out and kind of see the trajectory of life if we were to move that energy into self or into anywhere else and move it into giving into spaces in which we receive reciprocity, where it feels like equal give and take. This decision, sort of being in a space of reflecting, of ending an old chapter and beginning a new, is kind of using the communication that you provide, the passion that you provide, and moving that into change. And more importantly, it's like seeing what you have to offer and what you have to offer the world around you. And it's almost as though right now that's kind of unseen. And primarily it's been unseen because your focus, it has been so caught up on this person or the past or the things that you have been through, or you kind of being the one to incessantly hold your hand out. I talked about this card in the last reading in the pile 2 space, that I found it fascinating that the Justice card in this reading, in this deck, is actually imbalanced when you look at the imagery, which is not typical in the Justice card. But in this space, it's like these sort of physical things are up here, right? But the emotions and the seeds that have been planted are so much heavier. So this is already out of balance in this space. This is already someone who has put in far more emotion than they have received in return. And this, it's almost as though the other person kind of relied specifically on the more physical things. And this is just, there's all kinds of things that happen in this space. It's really difficult for us, oftentimes the masculine energies really operate really well in a reward-based system where we are kind of, commemorating their good behavior. But if we have so little to go off of, we end up very hypercritical. And then that kind of it just creates a lot of imbalance that almost needs a rest. It needs to go into a space of moving out of this energy as quickly as possible. And here we have the Hermit on the bottom of it's like I've heard before in these readings like hurry up and wait, but this is more so of like hurry up and sit with self for a second and understand how much we've been giving into these spaces where we're not feeling anything in return. And for some of you, it's like you have been giving in so much to somebody with the way that the energy comes out with the hyena. It's like they're not even here. It's like they're not even a part of this equation. It's like their energy is so absent from this space that it's all of this reading is specifically designed for you, Collective 3. And it has nothing to do with this person because they're just not here. They're not present in this connection. And I know that that's not easy, but that it also is such an opportunity for you then to kind of disconnect and allow space there and reshift your focus onto self and reshift focus onto building new beginnings for self and reshift and reshape and transcend. It's like this is a catalyst right now. This is a catalyst moment for your individual growth. And I think you're being invited to take that opportunity and grow. You can love that person from a distance. And I feel as though if you've already been in this space where the emotion is imbalanced, then you have quite possibly already planted the seed. You've already told this person how you feel, what you expect, what you want in this space, and if you haven't, you've at least planted enough seeds that they know that you are interested, okay? Now the ball is in their court. Leave it there. Because if you are waiting for someone to pick up the ball and toss it to you, you could be waiting a very long time for that. Throw the ball in your court. Leave things where they may be, okay? Whatever will be, right? If they pick up the ball and they know how to play ball then with you, then maybe you can, let them pass the ball to you. But at this point, you've already passed the ball to them enough times that the ball it's sitting in their court and they know it. They know the ball is in their court. And so now it's an expectation. If they're an avoidant personality, y'all, they are going to be in this space they could be there for a very long time before they have the courage to pick up the ball. And are we willing to wait for the possibility of an outcome? Or can we begin chasing where outcomes already exist? And where you can see outcomes transform the most, and where you can receive hits of your own internal reward-based system that we all have, is to begin working on the parts of self that continue to reach out in these spaces where there isn't anything happening and where we feel so fearful of letting go. Both spaces are kind of operating in fear, but the fear of letting go, it's kind of it's the mind kind of protecting itself from having to face that reality that we may feel abandoned or rejected. And I'm sorry if that's a triggering statement, but that is kind of the energy that it would be here in this space of having to move into an acceptance of that. And what happens though is that when we are here's what I see in terms of abandonment, just to kind of go down that avenue for a second. If we are in a space in which we are giving, when we are in a space of sort of giving into someone in a way that they are not giving back to us, and out of fear of abandonment, it's kind of ironic if you think about it, because in that space we are abandoning self. And so it's almost as though we are putting our own self through the exact thing that we don't want to experience in order to try to obtain a different outcome. And so rather than try to seek that in someone else, we need to begin seeking that within self. And that's why you have the shapeshifter, because you're intended to sort of transform your idea of this and put that into motion within building upon self in a new trajectory forward. Okay. Let's see though, let's peek in and see how this person feels about you. Okay. We're going to go there. So let's see how what were they? The hyena person feels about the lamb. How does the hyena feel about the lamb? One more shuffle here. How does the How does the hyena feel about the lamb? How does this person feel about my group 3? How does the hyena? Oh, I just feel like your person has a major fear of commitment. And so much so in the internal thought process. So it isn't that your person doesn't want to give to you, okay? I think it's just that they don't know how. But it's like we're moving so much in the space of kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily fear, but it's more so anxiousness. And I think the interesting thing about the avoidant anxious kind of style is that anxiousness is something that is existing in both spaces realistically. Both are anxious about things. The way that they see you actually is they see that you have a lot of strength. They see that you have a lot of courage. There's something about you actually that this person, it's kind of as though it's like you embody something within you that they feel they lack within self. And that kind of puts them in a space of they don't feel that they add up to you even when they're with you. And this person could probably use a little bit of positive reinforcement and just encouragement and getting out of sort of this person is really struggles possibly with criticism. They do see you though as having been agitated into a point where you are sort of defending your turf, or that you are, if they come towards you, as they come towards you, that you're going to come out with, you're going to come out swinging. And it's like, and you're in a space of protecting self in this moment. So good for you too, group 3. I think you should be in that space. So they do see that in you. They see you as kind of like protecting what's yours. Now, do they see you as a counterpart? Do they see you as someone that they love? Do they see you, or I guess love is not going to exist for all people in this space. So we're going to take that, we're going to just take that back a little bit. As a potential of being a partner, yes, but there's a lot of conflict in this. It's like it's kind of feeling as though there's been a lot of damage done here, or that if they come, it's like they feel as though they come towards you, there's going to be conflict. And I think that what your person needs to understand is that there are consequences to our actions. Like accountability goes a long way. And so it's like they feel though, and that's the conflict within them, is that they kind of have an understanding that they need to bring truth into this space, that there has been sort of some kind of judgment that has come down upon them, and they would like to be in the space of being able to give to you and being able to provide for you. But I think that this is all kind of internalized. This is deeply embedded in some cases, where this is kind of holding them back then from kind of moving forward. And unfortunately, it's like the only way that they are going to build their own courage is if they start doing something about it, because it's so much easier to operate when someone else is doing things for us, right? Someone hands you if someone were to walk up and hand you 10 grand, it'd be a lot easier than having to work for 10 grand, right? It's kind of that thing. And this is like, and this is all about maturity too, by the way. The level of maturity that is existing in the hyena person is just so it's relatively childlike in the way that they're kind of moving. Is like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do this, and so I'm not going to do this. And unless the lamb come peeks its head on me again, then I'm not going to do it. And it's very just kind of immature in that way, and kind of energy. And this is, I always I've been saying, it's like we're done treating, how do you get a boy to become a man is that you treat him like a man. And so we're not mothering here, so we can't be in a space of how would we kind of operate with our child. We don't reward bad behavior, you know, we don't do that. And so rewarding bad behavior is kind of like, oh, you know, this energy that exists in the hyena is like they do something and then they expect that if they avoid it long enough then it'll just go away, and that's not how things work, right? And so now the hyena kind of has to be in a space in which the hyena is actually given an opportunity to stand up and do something. And so, you know, it's they're aware of it too, they kind of know, but it's as though they just see it as so much conflict, and they're very conflict avoidant despite creating conflict. Ironically, it's just it's interesting how that plays out and how that works with our alignment. Is like, if we're so anxious about you know, if we see conflict in everything and we're so anxious that there's always going to be conflict, then we inadvertently begin creating conflict within our behaviors without even realizing it. And that is exactly what the hyena is doing. So group 3, I think right now you're just kind of being invited to focus on yourself and focus on your own individual growth, and understanding that in order for these kind of energies to stand up with you, they need to be given the space to do so. Because if we you know, roll out the red carpet for them, is, you know, there's a very big possibility that they're going to make a big mess of that. They're not going to respect the carpet they're standing on because they didn't work for it. So that is your message, group 3. If you can do me a huge favor and like this video if it resonated with you, that helps my channel so much. If you'd like to stick around for more content in the future, please subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment down below. Let me know how this went for you. And I'm also like, I just want to give you all a big hug. I know what it's like to be in this space, and I know how difficult it is. And I'm just inviting you to have a lot of strength in this, because that internal strength that you have can really move mountains in this kind of energy if you really do kind of listen to the message and begin implementing that moving forward. All right. Love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day.